much purer than the common vulgar.
It's not.
You idiot. I'll find her. Like fire, hellfire.
Yes, so Hairless here. Today we're back with a Patreon request. Thank you to Dale and Carol for this one. This is Hellfire by VoicePlay. It's a song from the film The Hunchback of Notre Dame, a film I've not seen in well over 20 years, until earlier today. I gave it a watch, I did not remember any of the songs from it. Hellfire. I've listened to it a few more times since watching the film, and I have to say it's definitely grown on me with each listen. There's a lot to the music, melodically, harmonically, lyrically. I think it's a very clever song, very cleverly constructed. In terms of a thematic summary, it's ultimately a pretty dark song. It's about lust and damnation, two ideas that both complement and contradict each other in some ways. So we have this idea of opposing, and that is prevalent throughout the song. There's a lot of contrast within the song coming in different forms, such as tonality, major versus minor, sentiment, archaic versus contemporary, such as Latin words versus English, big versus smaller sounds, choir singing versus one singer. So there'll be many things to look out for here. I'm intrigued to see what VoicePlay do, because they could do anything really. Are they going to completely transform it, or stay relatively true to the original as much as they physically can, or somewhere in between? I basically just have a lot of questions which need answering. So let's get straight into it. It's an all-male lineup, another performance featuring J Nunn.
Beata Maria, you know I am a righteous man. Of my virtue I am justly proud. Beata Maria, you know I'm so much purer than the common, vulgar, weak, licentious crowd.
Then tell me, Maria,
why I see her dancing there, why her smoldering eyes still scorch my soul. I feel her, I see her,
the sun caught in her raven hair
is blazing in me out of all control. Burn it. Like fire, hellfire, there's fire in my skin. It's burning, desire is turning me to.
It's not my.
I mean, any lower and we won't be able to hear it. There, that was a D, that's one note lower than we got in Nothing Else Matters. Alright, well, let's pause there. We're about a third of the way through and go over what we've heard so far. I like it. I like it. If you don't want to hear my analysis and my thoughts, go to the timestamp here. They've chosen to sing in the same key as the original. The original did have some prominent soprano parts, you know, in the choir in the background, so I was wondering how VoicePlay are going to handle this. We're not in a significantly different key, for example, significantly lower, so that doesn't really matter. They stick with the choral opening, very church-like, more on the angelic side of things in terms of sentiment.
Beata Maria, you know I am a righteous man.
But then we get this, boom.
Beata Maria, you know I'm so much purer than the.
Here they come with the rhythmic complexities that they seem to love so much. And it's one of the things that I now kind of most look forward to with their arrangements. Their manipulation of rhythms, I think, is just so clever. It immediately kind of puts a VoicePlay mark onto their work. The meter, the time signature of the opening, it's very clear, it's very obvious. It's common time, we can count 4 beats in a bar. But now this bit, it's not so obvious.
You know I'm so much purer than the common.
We get a pretty constant wave of these percussive dum-dum-dums. They're nearly always sounding at any given moment, but when they don't sound, just for brief moments, which causes a natural stress or accenting, it's in unusual places. So it throws us off a bit. It's apparently rhythmically unstable, before they then return again to
vulgar, weak, licentious crowd.
Rhythmic stability. So we've just started and we've already experienced this idea of opposing I was speaking about in the introduction, and I like to think that this idea is representative of the mental instability of Flouro, the character who sings this in the film. Also, is it Lane covering the bass part, or have they layered in another Jeff? It's pretty low. That's a bottom D. I mean, after that, it is definitely Jeff here.
Then tell me, Maria.
He goes down to a G1, so an octave below this. This powerful bass sound helps so much in contributing towards this damning atmosphere. And to emphasize this, it's the only time Jeff doesn't have the melody in this whole opening section. Lane takes it just for a few words.
Then tell me, Maria.
And then it goes straight back to Jeff for a solo moment.
Why I see her dancing there.
Yeah, I really like some of the individual lines we hear at this point as well. As I'm getting to know VoicePlay a little bit better with each time I hear them, and I'm learning what to listen out for, it's lines like this that stand out.
Smoldering eyes still scorch my soul.
So there were two lines there. One was this chromatic inflection, subtle movement in the middle of harmonic change, and above it,
Smoldering eyes still scorch my soul.
moving in between beats, like we saw in the intro to We Don't Talk About Bruno in Ellie.
Talk about Bruno, no.
Alright, so a little bit further on, we come off the back of another chordal section, and Ellie's part, I think, is the prominent part with his rising O's, quite rocky in sound.
I feel her, I see her.
And consequently more modern in style. Again, rhythmically, they've made some adjustments compared to the original. Here, they've used rhythmic diminution, meaning they've shortened the note lengths of the chords. In the original, we hear this.
Feel her, I see her, the sun.
Dum dum dum. Whereas VoicePlay do it quicker.
I feel her, I see
Dum
her.
dum. It's a small thing, very subtle. I mean, we're talking fractions of a second, but it's one of the things that stood out to me in the original. Another line that I like from the original. The sun caught in her raven hair. Lustful lyrics. Quite romantic, actually, if you were to isolate this line. In the original, we hear a trumpet duplicating the melody.
The sun caught in her raven hair.
So one melodic line multiple times and a strong sound. VoicePlay do the opposite.
The sun caught in her raven hair.
It's a softer sound, and instead of one melodic line, we hear three. They're singing in three-part harmony. These are the starting notes, with a static bass underneath to exaggerate the movement of these three parts.
The sun caught in her raven hair.
Just after that, we hear Burn It, and then just Bosh.
Burn it.
Like fire, hellfire.
Jeff is singing the melody down an octave from the original for a deeper sound in general. It's one that triggers the bass face a bit more. And also we have a beat now entering to help with this. And then just after that, on the word skin,
In my skin.
it's the same chord we hear in the original, but because Jeff has the melody down an octave, his part is actually doubling as the bass part.
There's fire in my skin.
So we hear a C chord, but Jeff with the melody means that this top note is moved down here. This is called a second inversion chord, regular. First inversion, second inversion. You can see it's a different sound to the regular chord, a slightly less assuring sound, which in turn exaggerates the next chord change, which seems quite sudden, also because Ellie is exaggerating it.
My skin is burning.
So these things are working nicely together to exaggerate this harmonic progression. Alright, let's carry on. The bit that we got to, in the original, it's kind of a crazy part. It's not as clean harmonically. There's a lot of agitation in the music, and there's a choir.
It is the gypsy girl, the witch who set this flame.
There's a lot going on, a lot of moving parts. So let's see how VoicePlay handles this.
It's not my fault, I'm not to blame. It is the gypsy girl, the witch who set this flame. It's not my fault, if in God's plan He made the devil so much stronger than a man.
Protect me, Maria. Don't let this siren cast her spell. Don't let her fire sear my flesh and bone.
Destroy Esmeralda,
And let her taste the fires of hell.
Minister Flouro the gypsy has escaped.
What?
She's nowhere in the cathedral. I'm afraid she's gone.
But how? Never mind. Get out, you idiot. I'll find her. I'll find her, and I'll find her if I have to burn down all of Paris.
Hellfire!
Alright, so they've decided to keep in this spoken section. On Spotify, I was listening to a version where they had omitted that. It looks like we're 2/3 of the way through, actually, so let's do a pause here and go over some of that previous section. I'm really liking VoicePlay's arrangements, I am. So from that section, from where we left off, in the original, I really like the fact that at the end of every line, we hear mea culpa, which means through my fault. It's quite funny because the lyrics are talking about how it isn't their fault and how they're not to blame.
It's not my fault. I'm not to blame.
VoicePlay don't have this repeated mea culpa, they only choose to sing it kind of one time, and that is mea maxima culpa, a slightly more severe version, meaning through my grievous fault.
Girl, the witch who set the flame. It's not my fault.
In the other instances, they opt for different things for variety in a fairly limited arrangement at this point. At the end of these lines, let's just have a listen.
It's not my fault. I'm not to blame. It is the gypsy girl, the witch who set the flame. It's not my fault. If in God's plan he made the...
And in that bit we just heard as well, I like the sequence of melody between Ellie and Caesar. First we get Ellie, then Caesar comes in harmonizing underneath, then Caesar takes over the melody, and then Caesar moves back down to allow Ellie to take over the higher part again. And that leads into this moment that is probably my favorite moment in the original song.
Maria.
It's almost like a moment of enlightenment. We hear a choir like a chorus of angels. The music has now switched from minor sad to major happy. He's saying, "Protect me, Maria," like he's almost becoming good. This vile, heinous, evil character on the verge of repenting, albeit it's coming from a selfish place. So I guess why I like it is because of the sudden shift in sentiment. A moment of emotional confusion or conflict. One thing that really emphasizes this shift is the cadence we hear.
Maria.
That's a perfect cadence, a very classic way to finish off a piece of music. Chords 5-1. VoicePlay don't have this obvious perfect cadence in there. Instead, they have decided to have Jeff singing this arpeggiated bass part going up and down. It does, I think, affect the overall feel.
Protect me, Maria. Don't let this siren cast her spell. Don't let her...
I do think it kind of diminishes the powerful cadential finalizing feeling here, but on the flip side it makes things much more melodious and a bigger contrast to the other more religious sections in the song, which would be more chordal like we got in the opening. Yeah, when the electric guitar sound effect came in, that was pretty cool. We've heard a similar thing before in some of their other performances, so I guess it's some form of treatment they like to do in post, and it works so well with this. The high, powerfully sung, yet quiet sounding ahs in the background, underneath Jeff's low, louder sounding melody. And then we get that spoken section. I think it's a very cool accompaniment that we hear with Lane's effects and the staccato chords.
She's nowhere in the cathedral. I'm afraid she's gone.
But
it maintains the suspense, and Jeff's voice, that deep voice of his, yeah, it works really well. Alright, let's carry on for the final section now.
never mind. Get out, you idiot. I'll find her. I'll find her, and I'll find her if I have to burn down all of Paris.
Hellfire, dark fire.
Now, Gypsy, it's your turn.
Choose me, your fire. Be mine or you will burn.
God have mercy on her. God have mercy on me. But she will be mine or she will
Well, yeah, another great arrangement from VoicePlay. A lot of cool things with that one. And their production value is always so high, at least from the handful of performances I've seen. You know, we got this bit just after we carried off, and aside from the flaming eyes...
Now, Gypsy, it's your turn.
I like the effect here, the synergy between audio and visual. The sound is muffled at first, and then as the camera zooms out, the sound becomes clearer.
It's your turn.
The bit that it leads out to, in the original, it really does stick out to me. When I was listening to it, I was kind of thinking, I like the idea of threes here. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Choose me or your pyre.
So with this idea of 3 in mind, VoicePlay managed to sneak another 3 in there, coming in the form of hearing the entry 3 times. On choose, choose. 3 times, very quick succession. And these rapid successive entries was one of the first things I noticed with VoicePlay in my first ever reaction, but this time it's much more subtle. Then the next bit, again, we have Jeff choosing to sing the melody down an octave. It really enhances this plain chant-esque melody that comes in between the Kyrie eleisons, which means Lord have mercy, and the arrangement sets Jeff up very nicely for this climactic ending. I think that's the highest I've heard him sing, probably, and then he moves up again. I really wasn't expecting that. So a nice little surprise, and then moments later to finish up, Jeff, again, he ends on a D1. So from 1 octave below here, and his high note earlier was up here. That's just over 3 octaves. We've heard him sing there right at the end. And of course, the whole thing finishes on this nice, powerful chord. Oh, and one other thing I forgot. Lane, is he able to beatbox and get some bass notes in there? Dum, dum, dum. It's this part I'm wondering. Alright, let's leave that there. Yeah, I mean, the original song grows on me every time I listen to it, and I think VoicePlay did a great job here. The original song just had so much going on, you know, full use of this massive orchestration of instruments, choirs spanning from basses up to sopranos, but VoicePlay seemed to have handled this brilliantly. The arrangement never really felt empty at any point. They got nice contrasts in there. That idea of opposing, we heard a lot in different forms, and a great showcase for Jeff as well. I'm excited to get around to his solo stuff. Alright, thank you again for this request, and thank you to everyone for watching. Would appreciate a like, subscribe and comment. If you enjoy this content, want to support me, vote on future polls, join the community, you can do so by joining the Patreon or YouTube memberships linked below, and I will see you next time.